Should you buy iPhone 7 in 2021? Let's find out. What's up guys, welcome back to the channel. This is the iPhone 7 and it was the first iPhone which apparently removed the headphone jack from itself for the sake of AirPods. So the iPhone 7 and 7 Plus were released in September 2016 and this iPhone 7 was kind of the best Apple could offer in late 2016, which it definitely did. This was a nice phone with very much high-end specs at that time. It has the Apple A10 Fusion 16nm chipset, which is a quad-core chip, and it has 6-core PowerVR Series 7XT Plus graphics, which is still excellent for graphics performance. I mean, it still runs most of the high-end games very smoothly, which definitely no other Android from 2016 can do like this, I think. So I will talk about the performance in a minute. First of all, speaking of the price, you can get this phone very inexpensive now, like around $110 to $190 for a refurbished or used one, which is a very low price for such a great phone, and you are straight getting the latest iOS as well for such a low price, and this makes this phone more future proof. It also is gonna get the upcoming iOS version most probably. If you are literally on a budget of $100 and you just want a complete phone, then this might be the best iPhone option for you right now. I will not recommend the iPhone 6s because that has already some problems with the iOS 14 update, along with the iPhone SE first generation, especially the battery life and some extra heating issues. And this one also has not good battery life with the iOS 14, but considering the size of the battery and the RAM, you are still lucky enough getting up to 4 hours of screen on time depending on your battery health. And speaking of the phone itself, it has a 4.7-inch Retina LCD display, which is tiny by the 2021 standards, except the 12 mini, and it has a decent 750 resolution with 326 ppi with some 625 nits of typical brightness, which isn't the worst display to look at yet, but also not the best display, especially looking at some Android phones. Like most budget Android phones have very much good displays nowadays. It has this aluminum frame and the design still looks premium, and holding this doesn't make any noticeable change in the feel of holding such an old 2016 phone. Simply the design is not that much old looking still, except the front of the screen with these huge bezels, which is also a 2020 fashion for Apple. It continued with the iPhone SE 2020, the second generation, so no surprise at all. Speaking of the performance, it has the Apple A10 Fusion chipset, and believe me, it's still a very powerful chipset, and it's still very powerful than the most of the Androids of its time. Along with this super solid hardware, it's still a very flagship style performance phone. It runs the iOS 14 pretty smoothly, no problems at all, except in some heavy tasks. It gets hot, and gaming is still super smooth, like no any problem in pretty much any type of games except some loading time in opening the games. So this chip has no any problem in running and pushing the iOS 14, and it's still smooth and fluid, and the performance wise this is still a very good chip. Of course, there are so many fast chips there from Apple, like the A13 Bionic in the iPhone SE second generation, and that is definitely more expensive than this, but I would say for performance there are no any problems overall, and you will not see any kind of slowdown, at least for the daily tasks. Speaking of the software, it is running the latest iOS 14.4 and it is most likely to be getting the next iOS and has no any issues in the performance. But the battery life is not so good with it. The phone gets a little hot in some tasks and it drains battery faster. The standby time is also not as good like the iOS usually is, but it's still not terrible. It runs everything very smoothly and also have a little time in opening some big apps or websites or games, but other than that it is very smooth and fluid. Speaking of the battery life, it has a 1960 mAh battery, which is very little, but the screen is also small, and it has an average or below average battery life, especially by the 2021 standards. And if you get this phone with a new battery, or if you replace the battery, then you might get a little more battery life from this phone. You get 3.5 to 4 hours of screen on time with normal usage and maybe less with some heavy usage. But again, if you are on a tight budget and you just want an iPhone without any problem, then this will not create any kind of problems in terms of the battery life. And if you are a power user, then this iPhone might not be for you. Again, this is a 2016 phone and it's still surprisingly holding extremely well in every aspect. For the camera, it has a 12 megapixels, very basic camera and captures very standard photos with pretty much no extra capabilities. It suffers a lot in low light conditions, so only outdoor shots are nice and decent. It shoots 4K 30fps video as well, and video quality is pretty decent for such an inexpensive phone now. If you want to spend some more like $60 to $70 more, you can get the iPhone 8, which has a slightly improved camera than this. And for the 7 Plus, I would say you get the same experience except the battery life. The 7 Plus has a normal to good battery life than this. So should you buy the iPhone 7 in 2021? I would say if you just want an entry-level iPhone in 2021 and you don't want to pay extra because you don't care about any specs and features, then this iPhone is a good option. I would not say about the 6S because that has some sort of issues with the iOS 14, as I said, especially the battery life, but the iPhone 7 has not that much of problems and it can be considered an entry-level iPhone in 2021. It has overall very good specs as well. It has a good performance chipset, although very little RAM, and a premium design, a durable build, a nice LCD screen, although not very good to look at, and an average battery life for an average person. It has some flaws as well, like a very small screen, not good sounding speakers, not good battery life, and also below average front and back cameras in 2021. And if you want to spend some more, like I said, you can get iPhone 8 for 180 to 200 or maybe 220, and also iPhone SE second generation for around 250 290 to 340 or maybe more. And of course that has very much improved performance, battery life and camera, but not the design. Also, if you go for Androids in this price range, then there are a lot of options there. But again, the iPhone 7 might perform way better than many mid-range or some old Android flagships as well. And also iPhone X and the iPhone XR or XR are good options if you want to spend some more, like 280, 300, 350 or maybe some more. And that's pretty much all about the iPhone 7 in 2021. And thank you so much guys for watching. Please be sure to subscribe and hit that like, and see you in the next one.